Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Live from the Loft 100 studios in beautiful Southern California. Hope everyone's having a great day. As always, we appreciate you being along for the ride. And of course, the ride is the Big Biz Show. I'm Costa. That's Marybird Godwin. That guy right there is our executive producer, Greg Todorov. And of course, behind the bar, Sully.
Good to see you. Have you guys, do you, obviously this fire thing going up in Los Angeles made like 12,000 acres.
It's awful.
That is, and the devastation is just
It's
unbelievable.
like a war zone.
And for once, for the first time as I can remember, because I live in what's called a red zone.
Oh yeah.
My property's in a red zone, and it's nothing but nature. There's all kinds of stuff in my house at night. You should see.
Oh, I'm sure.
I opened up the cupboard yesterday. And my daughters were in town for the holidays, and someone was making something with probably a green bean casserole, slivered almonds.
Delicious.
Are you okay? A little salted, toasted.
Oh, so good.
You put them back in. You put them back on the pan, toasted.
So hungry.
I know. Have you seen the new bags at the grocery stores that are kind of biodegradable? They feel like they're made out of condoms.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
They don't work, by the way.
they're thin for the almond's pleasure.
Things get
In
stale.
any case, I opened up the cupboard yesterday, and it looks like a yard sale.
Oh.
Because critters were in there at night somehow.
Yep.
Eating. But I digress. This is now going to be a political issue because remember defund the police?
Sure.
Or defund the fire department and all that stuff?
Yep.
Well, apparently the fire hydrants in Pacific Palisades were empty of water.
Yeah.
Now, my question is this. Is that a drought thing? Or is that a political thing?
It's a political thing.
Do we know though?
We do.
That's infrastructure.
So tell me what it is.
I don't know what it is. I just feel like there's a lot of information going around.
I know.
I don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
Happening to be talking about those because
the point is that
they're empty. I mean,
well, let me tell you where I'm going. Let me tell you where I'm
working.
going. Insurance companies are pulling out of California.
That is
okay.
real.
Now, if somebody tripped on it and smeared it in the carpet, okay, or stepped on it and smeared the carpet, and made it so that somebody could have flipped the water switch better, or somebody could have flipped the energy switch better, or something, if it was an error based upon policy, and insurance companies are leaving, what that does to homeowners in California is, it's first of all, you could lose your home because you can't have a mortgage without insurance.
Yep.
But number two, they'll come up with, as they always do, the state of California will come up with a way for you to buy state-sponsored insurance. The problem is, if your home costs, let's say, in the state of California, median home price overall, believe it or not, $875,000. Median, meaning that's the number of houses more expensive and that's the number of houses less expensive. They'll give you $400,000 to rebuild. See what I'm saying? And that's a California policy. I don't have a solution here, but I can tell you, California's got earthquakes, California's got fires. You guys have hurricanes, you guys have tidal waves and everything else. There's got to be a way for us to understand that we can pay an insurance premium and count on the insurance being there after a disaster. Because none of these homes in Pacific Palisades, I don't care how, look at this, there's a lot of rich people, there are a lot of celebrities and stuff, but none of those homes are going to ever be able to be insured again.
So that was the number one question my kids asked me last night when we were talking about it. They said, how are these people going to get their money? What happens? I'm like, I don't know what's going to be available for them.
Insurance companies so first of all, I think insurance companies are pretty good at coming to the rescue because it's a good soundbite for the next commercial.
Yeah.
Right?
Jake from State Farm will be there.
Right, but that's not my question. My question is, once it's all done, because they're all well-heeled, listen, they will pay the money. Will they ever take you on as a client again? Unless you live in a concrete jungle right in the middle of,
high risk.
Right. Yeah. It's a serious. Howie Font's going to be with us here in just a second. He's going to talk to us about
how
it is. And because there's a new regulation that was announced in the state of California last month that would require insurance companies operating in the state to increase coverage in high-risk areas by 5%. Well, you can require all you want, but they're voting with their feet. It's called a-holes and elbows. That's all you see as they're running out the door. See ya. They're slapping leather out the door. Big Biz Show. See Howie in a second. Step by.
Wherever you are watching, wherever you're listening, it is the Big Biz Show. We come to you live from Southern California, inside the Loft 100 studios. Hope you're having a great day. I'm Costa. That pretty lady is Mary Burt Godwin.
Hey, pretty lady.
That handsome gentleman is Greg Conroff, our executive producer, of course, Sully.
I'm looking at my phone here as the Marcus doing here. So we have Howie Font coming in a second. Because we saw the Trump bump. I don't care what you think about him as a president. I don't care what you think as a person. I can tell you, just in the world of advertising for television, in the world of publicly traded companies, ever since the election, there is a palpable shift.
Yes.
In terms of what is happening with business. Sales are increasing already, which is just amazing. I can't tell, and this is one for Mary, I can't tell if it's because things were so bad, regardless of why, things were so bad that the hope of, business-friendly environment, deregulation, less taxes or whatever is just enough to get people, because remember, the market runs on two emotions, and that's fear and greed, right? So does, perception is reality when it comes to the economy. Remember, because when I told you when we were paying $3.50 for gas 8 years ago, you said, oh my God, and now we're used to $3.50. Please give us $3.50 for gas, right?
Yeah.
So I think the perception is a really interesting thing here. Howie Font is our analyst here in the Big Biz Show. Do we have an intro for Howie anymore? Is he part of the? Do we get a little thing there? No.
No,
Mike, you
not.
want to sing him a little
We
intro
sound like a
or
little
something?
thing.
Here comes Howie.
Nice to see you. Is
Beautiful.
I know that we have fundamentals that get us to where we're supposed to be in terms of us. Oh, there it is. Okay, good.
Hey.
Awesome.
Hey, listen, the guy's still hungover from the Christmas party.
Production of a market watch. Okay, here we go.
Hey, because look, if you think in terms of markets, that's one thing. The economy is a different story. But it seems like the perception out there is happy days are here again. I mean, here goes 2025. Pardon me. I just had a beer before the show. We tape the show at 7 in the morning, by the way.
2025, a lot like 2024.
No, you can't drink
We're
all day.
easing into 2020. We're off-ramping 2024 ever since the 20th of December for our Christmas party, which is why your intro was a little bit late as well. Can you talk to us about not success for the market, but success for the economy, just based on perception? Because something has happened since this election, and I don't know if it's because we didn't know who was president since the election, and it seems like Donald Trump started early. Right?
A little bit.
Or am I just reading the wrong headlines? Because I'm hearing this both on CNN, I'm hearing this also on Fox.
No, I mean, you have to remember that the market is reading into changes in the economy that are likely to happen and pricing those in now with new expectations going forward. So that's exactly what the election did. And you're right. I think it's mostly on the regulatory side. Things like everything from IRS enforcement to government agencies being defunded or replaced or reduced. Things like Doge really do matter. And as crazy as it sounds, maybe some breaking news for the Big Biz Show, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, the 51st state with former Governor Trudeau. I mean, there's a lot on the table that's showing the trajectory.
Howie Font, the 2035 Republican candidate for president, Howie Font.
No, but by the way, all those, we got the Gulf of America thing today. The Biden administration vetoed the Japan Steel, U.S. Steel merger. The Trump administration is going to go after that. They've asked for Tik Tok not to be sold off. President Trump will likely extend Tik Tok's life if he is able to.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because
happening.
Well, the edict that came down was that by the 20th, I believe, or the 21st of January, which is just 2 weeks away, they want either to have divested out of, they want the Chinese divested out of TikTok, or they want the company sold. Well, you can divest that quickly, or at least you say. I guess what they're looking for is they fired a shot across the bow, Howie, and now it comes down to, because you can't close the deal that fast.
They've had 6 months plus a couple extensions, so it's not like they haven't seen this coming. TikTok chose to go down the court route and go down the political route and try and convince people that this needs to change. President Trump's position switched from 2016 to 2020. He used TikTok a lot in the 2024 campaign and now says he's fine with TikTok. So we'll see if the Supreme Court, which is where it's going, allows the company to stay just a little bit longer, then Trump can keep giving extensions to that law and they'll never have to
Can I interrupt for a second?
divest.
Do you know what we forgot?
What?
The Day Trader Trio's here. I forgot you guys. Oh my God. Got a little something fun.
Speaking of TikTok.
You guys are so polite and just sitting there. And, you look
Did
like
they
you're
sneak
cold.
in late?
No, we put the AC up there so they'd all bundle up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're down here. So Howie, talk about the exuberance in the market, because there's definitely something changing. 2024 can only be called a success for the market, but 2025, it looks like we're back to where we were, sort of not in the salad days of 2023, but we're kind of. It looks like we're back. What's going on?
Yeah, so I think the 2024 story was, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. If you have a 25% year, 24% year as you did last year, that's pretty cool. So 2024 was the year of big tech. They outperformed everything. They were the only ones who had profits increase. But this year looks to be, with all of the regulatory changes and governmental action that's going to happen, and tax cuts, if that happens through reconciliation, more of a broad comeuppance for the market. So you should see some equalizing between, the stocks that have been very, very high and everything else.
Okay, so I have a question for Mike.
Yes.
During Donald Trump's last presidency, give me your description of what he did for the economy in your perception.
I think he lowered energy costs. I think he opened up more gas and oil exploration and/or drilling. And I think he gave the economy a much-needed bump.
Barry, what do you think he did?
I don't.
Let me tell you what he did.
Anything positive to say? Although I know that from you say that you had the best year ever, and lots of people.
But let me tell you what's interesting.
Yeah.
Is Donald Trump didn't do a lot for the economy, except for one thing that caused a broken glass effect, a waterfall effect, if you will, whereby he lowered corporate taxes, we were the highest, the highest corporate tax country of any industrialized nation, at 39% corporate taxes. And he promised us 15%. He got him down to what, Howie, 21? And what that did, and the law of
21, he wants them at 17 now.
Right, and the law of unintended circumstances was, or consequences was, law of unintended consequences was, those companies took that money savings and gave it to their employees. Now, he took credit for it. It wasn't his. He didn't intend it. Okay, he had a good intention to bring it. Okay, from there, the economy went insane because we had more money to spend. We repatriated companies because, look, as a publicly traded company, how you can vouch for me on this. If you're CEO of a public company, you have a fiduciary responsibility. In other words, jail time if you don't do this. Okay, create shareholder value, maximize shareholder value. If it is cheaper for you to do business, Apple, in Ireland, or base your business in Ireland than U.S., you have to, right, Howie? I mean, it is you are required as a CEO. Sarbanes-Oxley says CEO, CFO, you can no longer have your accountant sign off on it. You are responsible personally. Jail time if you do not maximize shareholder value. What happened was we wouldn't have a thing called the Rust Belt if we didn't have a problem in the economy in the past. So Howie, explain what happens. More companies going to repatriate? You see the same thing going to happen again, or is just like buying the rumor, selling the news, the market kind of absorbs everything ahead of time? What do you think?
So there was a repatriation of funds during the first George W. Bush administration in the early 2000s, and then we had another one in 2016 with the 2017 tax cuts. That allowed one. That kind of is a base that needs to build. There needs to be a sufficient tonnage of dollars outside of the U.S. That haven't been able to get in. And when that gets there, there tends to be congressional action allowing some of those dollars to come back in at a special rate.
Right.
So I don't know if that kind of has filled up to the same tonnage as those last two repatriations, but I think we shouldn't just be waiting for this optimal timing. We have to use Congress to give everyone a special deal to get their money in. We should just have a reasonable rate, which is, I think, what you were saying before. I will say, I think Mike's exactly spot on with the energy point, and let's just have a nuanced discussion
Sniff of superiority.
Here. There were also all of the tariffs, and when he was president the first time, there was a lot of up and down in the market because of the trade war headlines and volatility that he caused.
Did he also bring in a lot of
positive, but lots of
deregulation too? Detroit.
Well, he made a small business friendly by deregulating a lot of things, but what really did it was a tax. Real quickly, Howie, when we see you tomorrow, I want to talk about tech companies because companies like Amazon and Apple are now making more money per minute than the median home price of most. Facebook, for the uninitiated, the acronym is what is it? FAMG, I think it's called. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Collectively worth $8 trillion collectively. Amazon's making $837,000 per minute. Apple's making $700,000 per minute. Alphabet's making $427,000 per minute. Microsoft $1.9 trillion per minute. No, that's not true. 322. But the long story short is, and Facebook coming in last at $228,000 per minute.
Slackers.
Last Market Watch thing, there's a day of mourning for Jimmy Carter on the 9th, so there will be no equity on markets open that day.
Yeah, I heard about that. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow, but thanks so much. Howie Font.
What happened to Jimmy Carter? In over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network, as always. A shout out to our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Big Biz Show rolls on from Southern California. Loft 100 Studios, Costa, Miraber, Godwin, Greg Todoroff, and Sully.
That's right, you got it. Thank you to Bloomberg, El Financiero, Bloomberg EU, as well as Big Biz, Biz Television Network, American Life Network, and of course, as Mike mentioned, we are simulcast on radio over American Forces Radio Network. Big Biz Show is on the air. Great to have you along. Day Trader Trio is here today. Mary, Mike, Greg. enGene is a really interesting company, and I got a chance to talk to Ron Cooper here on the air about a month ago, and got a chance to talk to him just the last couple of weeks as we started kind of digging into to their publicly traded company. Their stock symbol is ENGN. Company's called enGene. Ron Cooper's the CEO. And what's interesting is I started getting emails from viewers after we got the original email, Greg, from someone saying we should take a look at this company. And it's all about a risk-reward ratio for enGene as far as the business goes. But I thought we'd bring Ron Cooper back on and have another chat. Ron, great to see you again, sir. How are you?
Great to see you, Sully. A real pleasure to be here.
Hey, can we talk about what NMIBC is and how it's currently treated? Let's give a little bit of an education on what you guys are up against here.
Sure. So non-muscle invasive bladder cancer. So this is a top 10 cancer in the U.S. So you think about lung cancer, you think about breast cancer and the like, but it's a very common cancer in the United States. And when you think about NMIBC, it really affects, so say you're in your mid-70s, right? So you're a mid-70s individual. If you're diagnosed with NMIBC, you have a 20% chance of progressing over a 10-year time frame before it progresses to muscle invasive bladder cancer, which gets very, very serious. So it's a cancer, but it's a slow cancer. And right now you get treated with a drug called BCG. It's a product that's over 50 years old. It's an immunotherapy, or you get off-label chemotherapy. But unfortunately, those products will not work for a long time frame. And patients usually will end up having their bladder removed. And that surgery, unfortunately, has an up to 10% chance of death. So pretty serious, but really high morbidity too. So you'll end up having an ostomy bag. So
I was going to say
you have to go to the bathroom through that, and you lose a lot of sexual function as well. So pretty tough disease.
I'll say what's interesting with this, especially with enGene, stock symbol once again ENGN, and you can get more information by going to enGene.com. We'll put up the website there on the screen for our viewers. The FDA needs to address this because of the population and the addressable market. And obviously, you're in the middle of this journey, this arc of that FDA story. Talk to us about the FDA, where they sit in this, and where you guys are at in terms of getting us to the point where we don't have to worry about this malady any longer.
Well, if you think about the drugs that I talked about, so you have chemotherapy, which is not approved. Then you have BCG, this over 50-year-old product that has a relapse rate of about 50% in 2 years. So it's a pretty good drug, but it does fade. But that product is tough to manufacture, and it's been back ordered for multiple decades. So I love this. The FDA said, well, this is very serious. How can we partner? What can we do about this? And they gave new guidance to say, rather than having 2 double-blind placebo control studies for approval, if you do 1 study, open label, about 100 patients, you can get approval. And based on that, 3 new drugs have been approved. Now, unfortunately, these 2 new drugs, they're effective, but they also over time fade. So the FDA has really said, we need new agents to help patients who have this terrible disease of NMIBC.
Ron Cooper is the CEO of enGene, their ticker symbol ENGN. Ron, what makes the product candidate, all the other things, bigger, better, stronger with you guys?
Well, what's amazing about our product candidate, dental imaging, number one, it works, right? So we have a 71% complete response rate at any time. So really great efficacy. But patients are also concerned about how do they feel on the drug. And what's great about dental imaging is that in early studies, the side effects are usually grade 1 or 2. So no 3 or above, 1 or 2, mostly mild, mostly reversible. So really well tolerated. But the third aspect, which makes it really interesting, is this product is really designed for ease of use for both the community urologist and the physician. So what does that mean? There's no special handling. It's not a big toxic virus. There's no special storage that's required. It's only 1 hour of administration time for the patient, so relatively short. And there's fewer trips to the doctor compared to BCG. So if you package it all together, it makes dental imaging a pretty attractive product based on its efficacy, great tolerability, and ease of use.
So this dental imaging that you discussed, that obviously you got like 7 or 8 proprietary advantages. How tough is it going to be for the medical community to adopt that? Do you think because of what you just said, the ease of use, is that the way in the door? And then from there, when they see the efficacy, it goes from there? Because at some point, there's the standard, as you said, chemo and BCG, and that's just kind of the way it's been done forever. And so does it ever occur to you guys that might be a challenge, or have you guys, was the easy use part of that, encountering that objection before you even got there?
When you talk to urologists who've been treating these patients for decades, they're so frustrated because they know that they're going to run out of options quickly. And they would love for patients to keep their bladders for all the obvious reasons that we talked about previously. So it's never, it's always has a little bit of challenge, but I think the medical community is anxiously awaiting a product like dental imaging because they don't want patients to progress to muscle invasive bladder cancer, and they don't want them to progress to where they have to remove their bladder. So having a product like dental imaging could really help patients live longer and better lives.
Hey, Ron, I have a question about bladder cancer itself, because you mentioned something about being one of the 10 most common cancers, which I did not know that. And does it affect women and men at the same rate? And is it something that starts, that you're seeing later in life and older patients? And, I just don't know much about it because, like you said, we hear a lot about
But now
cancer.
she's scared, I can tell you that.
I am, yes. I know. Tell me more.
Well, unfortunately, the average age of diagnosis is around mid-70s, right? And probably the biggest correlate risk, like many cancer diseases, is smoking. So if you are a big smoker, you have a high risk, for bladder cancer. Those are probably the 2 biggest, demographic aspects around bladder cancer. But this early bladder cancer, NMIBC, is a cancer of where these are almost like hard plaques all around the bladder. So you can't cut them out, right? There's other forms where you can cut out, growths. So because it's a hard plaque around, you need a different treatment. So we deliver dental imaging, through a catheter and kind of bathes the bladder, right? And gets rid of or slows down the progression of these plaques, these carcinoma in situ. And that's what you want to avoid, because if it gets into the muscle, then you'll end up with metastatic disease, and it really becomes, very, very, very difficult.
Ron, always appreciate the visit, doing great things for people with liver cancer, bladder cancer. Can't wait to have you on the show again. Thanks,
pal.
Ron Cooper, CEO, enGene. Their ticker symbol is ENGN. More of the Big Biz Show
Coming
after
on.
this. Keep it here.
Greg will send me. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyandgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
Big Biz Show rolls on. We are inside the Loft 100 Studios in Southern California, as always. Appreciate you being along for the ride wherever you are watching, wherever you are listening. Costa sitting here, Mary Godwin sitting over there. Of course, Sully right there behind the bar, and our good buddy, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer, keynote speaker, Dan Negroni.
A little bit of Campari, a little bit of gin, a little bit of soda, a little twist of orange. You got yourself a Negroni.
At the bar.
You call him Danny Negroni?
That's my name. Most people call me Danny.
Really?
Do you know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
That is true.
What's going on,
What's
Dan?
happening now?
Yeah.
You and I have known each other for 25 years.
My God, a long time.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember when you were a mere attorney, and then you turned into a business development coach, then you turned to a keynote speaker, then you turned to a keynote, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you wrote this book, of course, Chasing Relevance, which is
Now he's a
fantastic book that talks about.
It's antique now.
Yeah, well, because remember, Gen X was I beg your pardon, millennial was the word.
Yeah.
You know, and it's changed. Let's talk about what's going on in the world, because you are a management coach as well as a talent coach in that sort of age group. Where are we? Gen A again? Like, because we went millennial, X, Y, Z. Where are we now?
I think we're at beta.
Beta.
It is. Yeah.
But alpha is kind of the tweens and below, and then Gen Z are the people that are coming into the workplace, the 20-something-year-olds.
What does that look like for
20s.
those people right now?
I think it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look
What doesn't
horrible.
look great? Like the
I think
workplace or?
the workplace is having a challenge really dealing with them because they grew up with devices. It's a completely different world. They really weren't, they didn't learn to play by themselves.
Right.
They really need focused guides, and they need a lot of instruction, and they want to go very deep, and they don't have a lot of independent strategic thinking. And so it's a challenge for us old folks.
What that makes me think about is something that you brought up from the very first time we talked about this several years ago. It's not just about coaching the talent, it's about coaching the management to deal with the talent.
Yeah.
So here we are again.
Yeah.
So who's going to be tougher?
Well, it's interesting.
More malleable.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting now because the millennials, right? I think the oldest of them born in 1980, so they're 45 already, right?
Now they're
old like us, right? They're bosses. So they're bosses of the Gen Zs, and so now they have to figure it out. And while they are similar in terms of technology, they're really not, because Gen Z was the first one with a phone that was a computer in their hand.
Right.
And so it's super, super different. It's super different in the classroom. It's super different in the workplace. And
what do you think it's harder on? Do you think it's harder on the management or it's harder on the kids coming up?
Yes.
That's a great answer.
Well, and Gen Z lived through COVID in school, so a lot of them.
Yeah, COVID's a game changer.
I mean, I'm hearing all sorts of issues.
You have a delay in growing up or adulting from the device, and then you have COVID, which delayed it another 2 years.
Education,
so you have a blank show. in the workplace. Yeah.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How do we fix it?
Well, how
I
do
was like,
we
are you
fix
coming
it?
to sit by me?
No, I was just cleaning up, because the kids aren't doing it.
I have that gene too.
Because the kids aren't doing it.
So when we were younger, getting up in the world, and you're the same age.
Yep.
It came down to a resume. It came down to some references. There was no job searches that, we got away with a lot more than you get away with now, because it's only so many places you can look.
Yeah,
God.
Right?
Well,
the talent search is a little bit different than it was when we were.
Yeah, and I think businesses are, one of the trends in the workplace today is that we were always looking for new blood to come in. And now, because we understand that new blood comes with so many challenges, we're looking within our workplace. And so we're looking at who can we take if we have 26,000 employees from one job and put them in another. And I used to have a client with 26,000 employees, and it was so hard for someone who worked there, who was getting put off a project, to actually get a job there. Yeah. And I think businesses now understand wait, these are known quantities. We should look. And so I think that's really changing at a big level. And another thing that's changing is really understanding that we got to get this right with Gen Zs, because they're here to stay.
And they're going to move up.
And they're moving up.
Well, you talk about something called management burnout busting. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I think COVID, hybrid work, DEI, over wokeness, over compensating.
Yeah, where is DEI going? Is DEI, was it a thing that peaked up like Oat Bran? Remember when Oat Bran was so healthy and now it went away?
I think the world is learning that DEI is how do we get along together, which is really always what it should have been. And so we're trying to be better at doing that with every age, color, religion, all those things, and I think we're better at it.
Well, the good news there is that we've assimilated that.
We are assimilating it as it goes on.
Okay.
And I think the burnout thing is we're burnt out from all of the things you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It sucks to be a manager. Like, it's hard work.
Can I ask you this? I loved.
You can ask me anything.
Okay, I can. I loved the holidays this year, when December 25th was a holiday and New Year's Day was a holiday.
Yeah.
It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes us all think of the magic word 4-day work week.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I had another Sunday. Yeah. Didn't it feel like, well, tomorrow's Monday. It was.
I didn't know what day it was.
Yeah. For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But that 4-day work week idea may be going the way of the dodo.
That's what they say, is that it's going away. And I think because hybrid work is so diverse. Now, there's a big call, right? Amazon, the first of the year, called everyone back and said, you will have a 5-day work week unless we don't have room for you in these different cities. But I think people want value in their workers. Sure. They want to get stuff done, and they do want to trust people. But there's so much that has happened that we're trying to figure out what are the tools we need. And the last trend that is how can we use AI?
Okay, well, wait, before we get to AI, wait a second though. I want to say something. We want more from our workers.
Yes.
Okay? And a 4-day work week would indicate 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yet we are working more than 8 hours a day as it is because of this right here and the availability.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to you at midnight. I talk to you at 6 a.m.
Lucky them.
Yeah, exactly. What would be the push? See, here's my problem with because some people are fortunate, like Jason Berry. We just had a real estate professional. You guys. You could probably work your schedule so you could do a 4-day work week. The problem is nobody else. I want people to leave me alone like they leave me on Saturday, Sunday. That's when the whole thing works, is when they leave you alone on the Wednesday. Do you think it's a distant dream because of the big companies like Amazon and Apple and so on and so forth? And will it take them to initiate to get the rest of the world to kind of adhere? Because I think we're already at 10-hour work. We're at a 16-hour workday on and off.
I think every company is an individual. That's probably the biggest premise of DEI, and they're going to do their own thing, and what works in their culture is going to work.
You brought about AI, and let's overlay that to talent searches and such. Is that one of the reasons it's going to be a problem for younger people? Is because the development of AI, just like the development of the factory?
I think AI is going to be better for the managers, because the managers are going to get better learning tools. I think they're going to be able to coach through AI, so you're not going to have an individual coach that you pay lots of dough like me.
You think it's a positive?
I think it's a positive thing. Do you use it a lot?
You know what I just used it for is planning a trip. I'm going to take my girls out of town.
Yeah.
I put into ChatGPT, I described our ages and our interests, and I said, these are the dates we're going. This is what we're interested in. We're not interested in this.
So you just went to the ChatGPT.
Itinerary.
So wait, so you just put ChatGPT and put keywords, and it said plan my itinerary.
I didn't put I literally wrote out, these are my daughters, this is what they like.
What do we do?
Plan an itinerary
and it gave you a spreadsheet.
We are going to see Billie Eilish at O2 in London on this date.
Wow.
And then do the rest. And it did it. It gave me an 8-day itinerary, where to go and everything.
So Dan,
and where to eat.
there's so many tools like that, and that's scratching the surface. That's like old people talk.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
AI.
Yeah.
By the way,
Wow, I just got put in my place. Okay.
Sorry, but there's so many tools like Perplexity for the next level searching. To use it, there's agentic AI. AI is going to change the way we work. Prompt engineering, where prompt engineering is what you did in ChatGPT. You prompted it with all the right information to give you what you needed. So there's so many terms, there's so many things going on, and yes, it will change the world. And yes, hopefully we can use it to coach them on themselves and on getting better information.
Is it getting rid of jobs?
But the point is because there's a fear there, like it was when the factory first came out, right? Or technology came out, it's going to take jobs. I think we're going to morph into it. I think you're absolutely right.
I think people need people, and service is always going to be there.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
People need people.
People need people.
I think there's a song about that.
Speaker, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer.
Thanks, buddy.
Professor.
See you next week.
Check him out at dannegroni.com. More The Big Biz Show. Keep it here. In over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. As always, a shout out to our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces from the Big Biz Show. What a great show it's been. 100 Studios. Costa, Marybert Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully. Good to see you guys. You as well.
What do we got coming up next?
We have Mr. Mike DePasquale. He is the chairman and CEO, Bio-Key International, Inc. Their ticker symbol is BKYI. Mike joins us right now. Mike DePasquale, a belated Happy New Year's. How have you been?
Happy New Year to you as well. Been doing very well, and it's great to be back on the show with you again.
Well, Mike's been with us for a couple of years. It's great because he brings into this world that we are all getting used to, where we hold our faces up to our phones, or we put even over here we put our hand over the door to get out or get into the thing. And this is all biometric and identity access management. And this is so important in this day and age, Mike. Before we start talking about Bio-Key, let's talk about the top-down way the world's changing to where this is, where numeric passwords and such are going the way to the dodo. It's all about this new identity and access management cybersecurity. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, it certainly is, and it's not that passwords, pins, and tokens can't be secure. The problem is they'd have to be 20 digits long. They'd have to change every 30 days, and the level of convenience would force us to use one single perhaps password or one single token, which makes it very, very unsecure. So biometrics are not only a more secure way to access information, but they're a more convenient methodology, one that people will readily use and use consistently.
So you're saying I can't use 2580 anymore?
No, can't do that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I was going to say. In terms of that, Mike, talk about what Bio-Key does, and why are some other industry players, or who are some of the industry players? Because you guys have a real big tiebreaker here. Your differentiator is really interesting. Talk about that.
Yeah, so Bio-Key is a leading provider of identity and access management security solutions. So any place that you're using, as we just spoke about, a PIN, a password, a token, a card, or a key, you can fundamentally utilize Bio-Key solutions, which not only can take advantage of those methodologies, but add a level of security called biometrics. Biometrics are some physical characteristic that only you possess. So it could be your finger, your face, your palm. It can be your eyes or your iris. So fundamentally, we're providing a much stronger form of authentication and security than is generally being used today. So as we spoke about before, passwords and pins, tokens and cards are being fundamentally sidelined by all the major technology providers, all the major financial institutions, and all the government agencies around the world. And we're providing solutions to address that specific need.
Mike DePasquale, the chairman and CEO of Bio-Key International, Inc. Ticker symbol is BKYI. Mike, how much or how quickly do the bad guys and bad women for that matter, out there adapt to your technology as it advances in your business?
Well, unfortunately, the bad actors, and this is globally, tend to be, about a quarter of a step ahead of most of us in the technology realm.
Wow.
The advantage with biometrics is that they're very, very difficult to replicate if deployed properly, if encrypted properly, and utilized properly. Passwords can be stolen out of a database. They can be easily manufactured and reused. But biometrics make it much, much harder to really break into and breach a specific entity or enterprise or government agency. But look, that issue is going to continue to be with us forever. And AI technologies are not only making it more difficult for us to protect ourselves, but using these advanced technologies like I just described are going to be fundamentally mandatory going forward.
And Mike, for the biometrics, is it a combination and or like eyes, facial recognition, fingerprint, voice recognition? Is it a combination of all three, or is it one or the other depending on what you're using?
Well, that's a great question because it depends on the risk and the level of security that you require. So, for example, we might require, one type of factor like a PIN, a password, a token, a card, or a key, and a biometric to strengthen the experience. Or an example I use frequently, if you were going to get onto a nuclear submarine, you might have to use a PIN, a token, a card, a password, your finger biometric, as well as your facial biometric in order to access, or get onto that platform or that ship. So it really depends on the risk and the level of security that's required. But the beauty about what Bio-Key offers in our Portal Guard solution is the ability to mix and match and add instantaneously for any access the levels of security that are required and the modes of authentication or biometrics that may be required.
And Mike, that's really the new product and service that you guys are bringing to the table that really marks the real difference here, isn't it? Because I think if you think in terms of intellectual property and what makes you guys, again, as I mentioned before, the tiebreaker, the differentiator, this is exactly what you're talking about. Talk about the new stuff coming, what you're looking forward to 2025.
Yeah, so we've spoken before on the show about passkeys, which can also incorporate and include biometrics, which are really the next generation of authentication technology that's being deployed today. And then what you're going to see going forward as we proceed through 2025 into 2026, we're going to see scaling that technology, and we're going to also see a more broad and wider use of AI to help strengthen the long-term security of our solutions. And so the fact that using AI, we can learn and we can advance our solutions by having more data and more information, that in essence is going to make things even more secure, because AI is going to be used over the coming years as a weapon. And so anything that can be used as a weapon can also be used in defense, and that's where we expect to be heading in the next 24 months.
He is Mike DePasquale, the chairman and CEO of Bio-Key International, Inc. Of course, their ticker symbol is BKYI. Mike, always appreciate the time. And that is going to do it for us here on the Big Biz Show. For all of us, including the Day Trader Trio. Thanks for being along for the ride. We'll see you next time.